Thank you, Barcelona, the place of my dreamt architect, Anthony Gaudí, the driver of most of my action in this project is devoted to this gentleman. A very inspiring man, very challenging, mad, so mad that still today what he thought about is still under construction. So I was wondering talking about 3D printing, what is 3D printing for me? For me, it's just an instrument to achieve beauty. Beauty all over, because I strongly believe that beauty and beautiness will save the world somehow. This is what I believe has been the best things I've done in life. Printing nature in 3D has been a merging of ideas and contribution that came from more people who saw what I was willing to do and completely misunderstanding about my wishes, thought about something that would be much better than what I thought. So artificial reefs in 3D has been a consequence of a comment by an Australian guy, James Gardiner. He's an architect based in Melbourne. You know, in Italy we say, the pig dreams nuts. So an Australian dreams reefs. So at some point, the best achievement that we could sort out has been mimicking nature with the 3D printing. From the physical model, from the digital model to the physical model, with our imperfect printer, because we print imperfection. Our best, let's say, plus is our worst defect, or let's say the best defect somehow, because we don't achieve a printing resolution. So we don't mind, we pursue the imperfection. And so this is still the main topic at this shape. Coastal restoration, fish repopulation, wave mitigation, wave energy dissipation, and everything that is related to the use of sand, bond with somehow binders derived by the seawater, because as Niels Fischer also Daniel Garcia mentioned, our chemistry is based on magnesium, a very common element on Earth. And this is what we did, and we are still working with a big dredging company in the Netherlands, the Royal Westminster Boskalis. We have a big project about massive production of long, extensively serial reefs to shelter the coasts and the island submitted to erosion. Just to mention another project that makes a lot of noise in the world, that, to be honest, has been just an amusement, has been printing houses on the moon. A lot of noise. I mean, it's been just a provocation that was taken very seriously at the European Space Agency. Foster and partners believed truly in this project, much more than I could believe, to be honest, because they invest a lot of time, much more than I expected, in renderings and so on. I made a very stupid sketch, and they turned into a beautiful rendering that is a shelter for the moon. And what has been the qualifying aspect of this project is that usually I saw so many projects about the moon, a lot of renderings all over, but let's do something in real. Let's send this provocation to the world in terms of printing a bit of a a moon shelter, a moon outpost. So this is what we did in Pisa a few years ago, with the precise intention to spike the competition to the rush to the moon. And in fact, when the director of the NASA saw this in Norwich, said, "Gosh, are you doing that seriously?" And so started a competition to say, if you are going to print on the moon, we shall go and print on Mars. And so it's very funny to see how stupid is the man, because if you do something, someone else will do the same just because you want to compete somehow. And now I will talk you about our current project that we have in an island in Africa. I can't tell too much because this is something that is the communication phase is not in my hands. I'm very prudent in saying about what we are doing then, but basically we developed a camping printer, so a dismantable, light, super cheap printer to go on an island, exactly the same problem of landing on the moon with a very light stuff, deployable stuff. And this printer is the same printer that maybe you have seen, is a classical low-resolution D-shape printer. We have been selected because the roughness of the items we do. So probably these kind of tiles are not the gender of tiles that might fit most of the buildings that most of the needs of the building with tolerances and so on. So we shall have to put a lot of labor to fit all the tiles that are inside this sequence of slabs that we shall print over the next weeks to print this sort of dune that mimic the sand and the dunes of this island, to have a very low visual impact on the island. And basically, this is the same approach we are trying to suggest to make this architectural, very low profile buildings to camouflage somehow in the environment. Those are pieces that we made for a shelter for the Minister of Defense. Something that is should confuse in distance the snipers for Afghanistan and Iraq. And we are suggesting to print houses in free-form building blocks, huge free-form building blocks, to create social housing and printing walls that are also walls that become a sofa and become a bed or become a wardrobe. In principle, it's possible to print also the furniture inside. And just to finish my quick intervention, this is another work that we did in Palm Springs a couple of months ago. We were invited by Amazon to make a demonstration in the desert. So we collected the sand of the desert, and we printed for Mr. Jeff Bezos a table for his office in Seattle. What else? This is something that is not related directly to 3D printing, because this is a subtractive technology. But in principle, we are, because of the low resolution of our printer, we decided to print raw pieces and then finishing them with the robots. It's a promising application for digital archaeology. We did an experiment quite recently for the reconstruction of the Palmyra Arch. In this case, we didn't have time, to be honest, so this is just Egyptian marble, but try to figure out this item 3D printed all inside and then crafted with the robot to create the engravings. And this is the effect that we got. And the inauguration in Trafalgar Square of the Palmyra Arch. A lot of noise, a lot of polemics. My goodness, if I could avoid and go back, I wouldn't do that, because on Facebook I saw a sort of gossip between East and West and North and South. My goodness. And this is my last dreamt project, onto which I'm investing time, money, commitment, patents, and so on, is something that I'm going to propose to the Abu Dhabi government. Is related to a 3D printed forest with artificial trees made of shaped sand from the desert, with some shading elements that will be, of course, photovoltaic panels, in order to reclaim the land in bunch of areas around 1 square kilometer. And the system is basically an hydraulic intervention, is an infrastructural intervention that is keen to turn a portion of desert permanently into a green land. And this is made of basically applying a process of water table creation of a new water table. So I might bother you with several other projects that we are involved in. I'm still wondering how I wake up in the morning, I can face like a mantra all these 20 projects we are working on. We finish one and we leave unfinished like 19, but hoping this way to inspire people about shaping sand for a better world. Thank you.